So I like to feel a wrist hinge. Now, a lot of people that I've seen, they like to just extend it right here, and that gets a little bit too much extension. But for me, what I like to feel is I kind of like to just feel like it gets a little straight up and just a little bit behind me.
All right, guys, welcome back. So we're going to start a new series this week, and it is going to be feels versus reels. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that Max does in his golf swing. But before we describe what he actually does, he is going to take you through what he feels in his golf swing. And this week we're going to deal with his backswing. So the first thing I want you to address is what you feel when you're moving from address, P1, to P2, which is club parallel in the backswing. What are you feeling?
So something that we've struggled with in the past is I like to kind of get the club too far inside.
Right.
And so a feeling that we've worked on for the last couple of years is feeling like the club head stays outside the hands. Now, sometimes I exaggerate it a little bit just to make sure that I get the club head outside of the hands, but most of the time it's usually right where we need it to be, right there.
Yeah, so that is the feel we've used, but that does turn into a position where the club, when you're doing it well, is right there hidden in the hands, okay? It may feel to you like it's way outside, but it isn't actually in front of his hands. A lot of the times, it gets slightly behind the hands, which is an okay position for Max. With the way he rotates his body, he's able to get out of it. So after you get back to club parallel, what do you feel when you're moving from P2 to P3?
So I like to feel a wrist hinge. Now, a lot of people that I've seen, they like to just extend it right here, and that gets a little bit too much extension. But for me, what I like to feel is I kind of like to just feel like it gets a little straight up and just a little bit behind me, because that gets me in a good position at the top. And I also have a tendency to get my hands really high. So feeling like it just gets a little bit behind me, but still the wrist hinge is what I like to feel.
So that is a good feeling for Max. I would say in reality, Max does get into a position where everything works behind his hands a little bit too much. The club can, when he's not playing his best, get a little too flat in that position. So feeling everything standing more up is a good thing. But if we get into a position, which he used to when he was younger, where if he lifts everything out, he does go into a lot of extension, and that does get him into trouble. So the final piece of his backswing, P3 to P4, what are you feeling?
Just a big turn. I have making sure, because that's also something that I struggle with too, is not getting enough turn in my backswing. And so when I tend to do that, my swing, like I said earlier with the other position, it either tends to I start pulling the hands up really high, or I just don't get enough depth, and then I start pulling everything down and across. So I have to make sure I feel like I get a big turn and everything gets pushed out.
I will say one of the things that we've worked on extensively is making sure we get the arms and the hands and the club into a good position by P3, so we can rely on getting up to the top. Now, Max doesn't remember this, but when he came from his original coach, one of his big issues was getting everything wildly stuck behind him. His elbow would fly, it would be well behind the seam line of his shirt, and he would have a tendency to get stuck, pull everything down, flip it out, scoop it, and hit these low rope hooks. So we really concentrated early when we started working together full time on putting himself in a position where the turn carried the club to the top. And that has done a sufficient job of keeping the arms out there. And now, as he says, the usual issue when he's screwing something up in his backswing is to lift the hands a little bit too high. Every once in a blue moon, we start having to correct the arm going too far behind him, but that's pretty rare that happens. So go ahead and set up. Let's hit one. Let's see where these positions actually hit that you feel that you're trying to get to.
So there, the lift, and turn.
Yep. See, that is an interesting take, right? What a player feels versus what reality actually is. Now, every player should have somebody, if they're struggling a little bit with their game, who actually can see what is happening in their golf swing and then help them take those feels that they're feeling and put it with reality in order to put themselves in a good position to make a good swing every time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next week.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. I come out with new content every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. Thanks a lot, you guys.